This is Chancellor Zabanda with the news. Thanks for joining us. The headlines. Ombudsman finds Dr. Jane Ansah and Kaleke Nikapale at fault in the manner they hired foreign lawyers to represent Make in the election case. Economists and researchers predict rough second half of 2020-2021 fiscal year. National Planning Commission challenges city councils to invest in transformation of lives of its dwellers. And a magistrate in Lilongwe has denied bail to a man who was arrested on suspicion he has been defiling his 9-year-old stepdaughter. Now I'll give you the news in detail. A report by the Office of the Ombudsman has found former MEC chairperson Jane Ansah and former Attorney General Kaleke Nikapale at fault in the manner they hired South African lawyers to represent MEC in the presidential election case. The Ombudsman has consequently ordered Ansah and Kapale to refund 3 million kwacha, which the Commission spent on the lawyers when they were in the country. The Ombudsman has also faulted how government, through the then Chief Secretary Royd Muhara, illegally appointed lawyer Madalitso Meta as board chairperson of Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets (PPDA), who in turn bulldozed the contract of the lawyers. Madalitso Piri reports.
Speaking when she presented the report titled Upholding the Profession, Ombudsman Martha Chizuma outlined some of the abuses of office and illegal moves taken by former MEC chairperson Jane Ansah and the then Attorney General Kaleke Nikapale in their procurement of services of the South African lawyers.
For starters, they engaged and even handed over the material from the Constitutional Court, made the lawyers in South Africa sign the return agreement way before the procurement process had even begun in this country. They even facilitated the travel of these South African lawyers to Malawi way before the procurement process had begun, and even an approval to proceed with the single sourcing had even begun. In as far as the former Attorney General is concerned, he even involved himself despite the Constitutional Court judgment condemning him for acting for MEC.
Chizuma added that although the 600 million kwacha was never paid to the South African lawyers, taxpayers' money amounting to 3.15 million kwacha was spent on the lawyers, and that the two must refund before the end of May this year. Among other findings, the Ombudsman has also faulted former Chief Secretary to the government, Lloyd Muhara, on how one of former President Peter Mutharika's lawyers, Madalitso Meta, was appointed chairperson of the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets, who the report says in the end bulldozed the institution to give a no objection on the lawyer's contract. And in his reaction, Amos Mwera, who is the programs manager for Youth and Society, the organization that lodged a formal complaint that triggered the investigation, said they were happy with the findings.
We believe that this will serve as a lesson to those people that are serving in public offices. They should know that they are there for the people of this country, and they should be acting professionally.
In the end, Mboweni Maluleke lawyers did not represent MEC as they were denied admission by the court. For Zodiak, this is Madalitso Piri reporting.
Economists and researchers are predicting a rough second half of 2020-2021 fiscal year if government fails to institute measures to maximize revenue collection and enhance discipline in management of public finances. During the 2020-2021 Media National Budget Review in Lilongwe, Economics Association of Malawi ECAMA President Roraine Nyasulu and Reserve Bank of Malawi senior economist Marietta Mpingasa-Cavallo said government should be ready to pay more to bail out farmers who have been affected by dry spells in the southern region. Principal economist in the Ministry of Economic Planning and Development and Public Sector Reform, Dr. Joseph Matola, insists the budget is pro-growth. Grace Kombe has the details.
Government revealed last Friday before Parliament that it has adjusted upwards the national budget from 2.1 to 2.3 trillion kwacha to developing trends such as COVID-19 second wave requiring additional spending. Economic think tanks and researchers project that unless government devises strict measures for revenue collection used to fund the budget, it will be hard for Malawi to achieve economic growth. The experts who met in Lilongwe to review the mid-year budget also suggested formulation of stringent measures to control over expenditures and domestic borrowing that stifle private sector performance, touted as the country's engine of economic growth. Economics Association of Malawi ECAMA President Lorini Nyesulu and the Reserve Bank of Malawi senior economist Marieta Mpinganso-Cavallo are predicting that government will be forced to spend more supporting beneficiaries of the Affordable Input Program who have been affected by dry spell in the southern part of the country.
They've already projected an increase in the expenditure. We see that even the deficit is going to widen further. We've missed an opportunity to consolidate our fiscal position.
Much as that we've done good in terms of the AIP, there's a risk that even those that benefited under the AIP will still have a hunger issue because of the dry spell.
Oxfam Governance Program Manager Mr. Matthias Kafunda has advised the government to exercise prudence in public finance management and domestic borrowing for expenditures in the 2020-2021 mid-year budget to be within range. Nonetheless, Principal Economist in the Ministry of Economic Planning, Development and Public Sector, Dr. Joseph Matola, is hopeful that the budget will help the struggled economy to rebound.
In 2020, the economy grew by 0.9%. That's low. We can basically conclude that the economy has slowed down given the COVID crisis.
The economists and researchers are expected to present to government their mid-year budget review assessment report and recommendations for consideration. This is Grace Kombe for Zodiak.
And in Parliament on Thursday, Deputy Speaker of Parliament Madali Tsogazombo sent out legislator Yomia Jehana for reportedly flouting parliamentary procedure. The chaos ensued after he told the House that Vice President Saulos Chilima is underperforming on reforms. The MP also said President Chakwera should fire Secretary in the Office of the President and Cabinet, Zanga Chikosi, for making decisions which disturbed the civil service. He cited the recent interdiction of district commissioners and council CEOs. Winston Kaimira was in Parliament.
Zimba North parliamentarian Yeremia Chihana being sent out of Parliament after being accused of violating House standing orders when he was allowed to ask a supplementary question to the Minister of Economic Planning. Responsible Minister, who is also Vice State President, Dr. Saulos Chilima, was in the House to answer a question from the parliamentarian. In the question, Chihana, who is also a member of the Pan-African Parliament, wanted to know the economic drivers of the Malawi 2063 Development Plan and its policy tools. In response, Dr. Chilima said the new development plan has a limited number of priorities and innovative financing mechanism for successful implementation. He said government plans to amend the Political Parties Act to ensure there is political will in the implementation of the plan. But when MP Chihana was given the chance to ask a supplementary question, he alleged that Chilima is underperforming on reforms as his office is a delicate one. He also demanded the firing of Secretary in the Office of the President and Cabinet, Zanga Chikosi, saying he's making decisions which are not good for the civil service. This is Winston Kaimira reporting for Zodiak at Parliament.
A magistrate court in Lilongwe Thursday denied bail to Lilongwe-based man who was arrested on suspicion he has been defiling his 9-year-old stepdaughter. The suspect, Stuart Kalungama, was arrested Tuesday at Biwi Township in Lilongwe, where he stays. Meanwhile, angry protesters, mostly women, thronged the court premises demanding stiff punishment for the suspect. We have a report filed by Western Guta.
On Tuesday this week, police in Lilongwe arrested Stuart Kalungama, who is alleged to have been defiling his 9-year-old stepdaughter for close to a year. While police are still gathering more information, child rights activists are concerned with increasing cases of rape and defilement involving close family relations. They lament this is hindering efforts to curb the malpractice. Activist Jennifer Mkandawire is advocating for a life sentence for such perpetrators.
I'm looking forward to the conviction of the man, and I would really want to see that he has been punished even for a life imprisonment.
Esime Tembenu of Family Rights, Elderly and Child Protection is equally hoping for a punishment that will send a stronger warning like never before.
I would also ask the Ministry of Gender to intervene by removing the child from the abusive home to avoid the biological mother and the step parent or their relatives to buy them from robbing the mind of the child, so that she can able to testify in court that they should impose the stiffest sentence they can.
In 2020, Malawi experienced a rise in rape and defilement cases, which saw organizations strengthening efforts to protecting girls who are most vulnerable. For Zodiak in Lilongwe, this is Western Guta.
The National Planning Commission, NPC, has challenged city councils in the country to transform the lives of its dwellers as prescribed under the anchors of Malawi 2063. Acting Chief Executive Officer for Blantyre City Council, Saulos Chilima, has acknowledged the gap that exists between its residents, 80% of whom are living below the poverty line. He was speaking when he officially presented the national blueprint to Blantyre City Council on Thursday. NPC communication specialist Tom Kanje dared the council to start producing results. We have a report by Alex Banda.
The Malawi 2063 development blueprint has three anchors, including urbanization. The principal implementer of the development blueprint, National Planning Commission, says this pillar envisions positive urbanization with improved standards of living among its residents. NPC communications specialist Tom Kanje observes that the current living is below standard and it is the expectations of Malawians to see change.
The Malawi 2063 is a vision for the people, and it will be implemented by the people, owned by the people, championed by the people. So it's important that the people of Malawi embrace it, the people of Malawi own it, and the people of Malawi take part in its implementation.
Acting Chief Executive Officer for Blantyre City Council, Saulos Chilima, acknowledges that about 80% of its residents live below the poverty line, pledging to do better under the new vision.
Urbanization should bring positive results. In most cases, we normally see that urbanization is connected with the migration of people from rural to urban centers. Those that don't have anything to do in the rural areas, they come to urban centers only to realize that they don't get the job and end up in informal settlements. But now, the urbanization that we're talking about in this document will ensure that councils create separate centers where the additional influx of people are staying with all the resources at their disposal.
The Malawi 2063 development blueprint is also being familiarized among the young people, which the Commission believes will spearhead the agenda. For Zodiak in Blantyre, this is Alex Banda.
You're watching the news here on Zodiac. We'll be back with more news after this.
ShopRite has always been here for you, and our promise to bring you low prices when what you need most will never change. Buy 375 grams cloves and black with mayonnaise only 1,399 kwacha 99 tambala, and 500 grams flour goat fat spread only 599 kwacha 99 tambala. We are also doing the best we can to ensure that you have a safe shopping experience. So be sure to follow all safety protocols in store. ShopRite, lower prices you can trust. Always. At ShopRite, we bought over 16.8 million back-to-school items, making us your one-stop back-to-school shop. Save big and get lowest prices on Fullmax backpack for only 9,999 kwacha 99 tambala, and Oxford Mathematical Set for just 7,499 kwacha 99 tambala. Choose Africa's biggest as your one-stop back-to-school shop. ShopRite, low prices you can trust, always.
Welcome back. A look at the headlines before we continue with the news. Ombudsman finds Dr. Jane and son Kaligeni Kapale at fault in the manner they hired foreign lawyers to represent Make in the election case. Economists and researchers predict rough second half of 2020-2021 fiscal year. National Planning Commission challenges city councils to invest in transformation of lives of its dwellers. And a magistrate in Lilongwe has denied bail to a man who was arrested on suspicion he has been defiling his 9-year stepdaughter. Now, a local organization, Pump Aid Malawi, says a promotion of cheap water supply technology is key if smallholder farmers are to maximize crop production through irrigation in the wake of climate change. Pump Aid Program Manager Chikondi Kaumba says most rural farmers cannot afford the cost of buying and running motorized pumps. He was speaking when a group of journalists visited beneficiaries of a project called Easy Pump, which the organization is promoting in Kasungu district. Noah Nkubu reports.
The self-supply project is an initiative in which Pump Aid, through its accelerator Beyond Water, is promoting the use of easy pumps for both domestic and irrigation. Over 300 households are embracing the technology in Kasungu district alone. Thomas Chakwera, a local farmer from the area of TN Jomba, told Zodiak that he can now afford to cultivate more than once in a year through irrigation using the easy pump technology. Mr. Chakwera says through the use of an easy pump, he has managed to buy livestock from irrigation farming. Miriam Muntama from Chinkoma village said apart from irrigation, easy pumps are a good source of safe drinking water, which remains a big challenge to most people in rural areas. According to Pump Aid Program Manager Chikondi Kaumba, the organization, through its accelerator Beyond Water, is promoting the use of easy pumps at a small fee for both domestic and irrigation.
Basically, we want to promote irrigation, as we have seen that even the government of Malawi is advocating for irrigation farming. So, there is a lot of technologies like maybe using motorized pump, which we feel is not sustainable for smallholder farmer, but this one is cheaper. It can be accessed by the smallholder farmers. They can manage to purchase it, but also it's locally available. So we see that by promoting this technology, I think we can reach a lot of farmers to do irrigation.
For Zodiac, this is Noah Nkubu, Kasungu.
Care Malawi International says it has invested $1 million, which is close to 780 million kwacha, in COVID-19 interventions across 14 districts of Malawi. The organization's board chairperson, John Makina, says the support is in the form of medical supplies and personal protective equipment. Hastings Juman reports from Mulanje.
Board chairperson of Care Malawi International, John Makina, said COVID-19 has become a critical burden to our already challenged health system. He noted that as a result, President Lazarus Chakwera sounded an SOS for partners to support the system in fighting against the disease. Makina said in a response, Care Malawi International, through a European Union-funded ECO COVID-19 project, it has invested $1 million, which is close to 780 million kwacha, in COVID-19 interventions across 14 districts of Malawi.
We are all aware in terms of the challenges that the health sector in Malawi and globally is facing, which is due to COVID-19. And we felt perhaps that before they are too much stretched as an organization, that we can do something about it in terms of supporting the health sector in providing some of the equipment that we have handed over today. But apart from that, as we said, there are other areas that we have also supported them. I mean, we're talking about capacity building for the health workers.
Director of Health and Social Services at the Mulanje District Council, Dr. Alinafe Kalanga, said despite registering a decline in COVID-19 positive cases, COVID-19 management support is still required as the battle is not yet over.
In general, for Mulanje District Council, especially the health sector, as far as the response to COVID-19, I would say that we have received overwhelming support. The support I've received from CARE, I would call one of the major donations that we've received as an office.
Some of the items donated included mattresses, face masks, BP testing machines, thermometers, sanitizers, and according to Makina, the consignment is worth 20.2 million kwacha. 2 weeks ago, the organization also made a similar COVID-19 donation of 17 million kwacha to the same facility. For Zodiak in Mulanje, this is Hastings Jimani reporting.
Let's now move on to sports. National Coaches Association says hitches facing registration of candidates is derailing efforts for local coaches to undergo CAF B coaching course. The association's General Secretary Devin Pima told us this morning that they are yet to register names of 30 coaches on CAF online platform, which is yet to be opened. The NCA had said January 21st for the course, but that was delayed due to the registration issues.
Local football coaches aspiring to attend CAF B coaching certificate will have to wait a little longer as the registration of names of candidates is yet to start. CAF was supposed to open its registration portal through CAF Online in January 2021, but the process is yet to start. National Coaches Association General Secretary Devin Pima told us that this is delaying processes of coaches undergoing CAF B coaching course after it was postponed on 21st January. Mpima, however, was optimistic that the registration will start soon, as the CAF online registration portal is also expected to open any day from Friday.
It has been delayed because of the link of the CAF, so that we are connected to CAF. But we are having a problem of that link hasn't opened. But all in all, we have already shortlisted 30 coaches. The 30 coaches are the one we are working with. Those they applied, there were about 45 coaches, and we shortlisted 30 coaches.
CAF B license is the minimum requirement for one to coach a TNM Super League outfit. Among other coaches, Civil Service United, Nyasa Big Bullets and former Mighty Wanderers assistant coaches Elia Kananji, Peter Mponda and Oscar Kaunda respectively are expected to benefit from the courses. For Zodiak, this is Bright Kanyama.
Well, that's it for now. Let's take another look at the headlines before we leave. Ombudsman finds Dr. Jen Ansah and Kaligan Kapale at fault in the manner they hired foreign lawyers to represent Make in the election case. Economists and researchers predict rough second half of 2020-2021 fiscal year. National Planning Commission challenges city councils to invest in transformation of lives of its dwellers. And a magistrate in Lilongwe has denied bail to a man who was arrested on suspicion he has been defiling his 9-year stepdaughter. Visit our website zodiacmalawi.com for more news. Remember, we are not out of the woods yet on COVID-19, so follow preventive measures without fail. My name is Chancellor Mozabanda. Thanks for watching.
Let's take a moment to talk about money.